Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode of Scotch Conversations. I'm joined today with Seb and Campbell. Boys, thanks for coming back and being involved in this.
No, all good. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure.
We're also very fortunate to have a special guest, an OSC who graduated in 2009. He's represented Western Australia and Australia playing cricket for the Perth Scorchers, the Hobart Hurricanes and the Melbourne Stars. Joel Paris. Joel, thanks for coming in.
Val, boys, thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. So before we get into more of a substantial conversation, I thought it might be nice, like I did with these two, to do a bit of a quick rapid-fire questions, so our listeners and us can get to know you a little bit better. So we'll do about 30 seconds. I've got a list of questions. Just answer as quick as you can. We'll try to tick through them. All right. Ready?
Stop.
Time starts now. Okay. Favourite teacher while you're at Scotch?
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson. Favourite subject while you're at Scotch?
PA.
Nice. If you were stuck on an island with 3 Australian teammates, who would it be?
Sean Marsh, Mitch Marsh, and we'll go... Oh, geez, this third one's a tough one. Let's go Cameron Green.
Nice. Okay. Favourite meal after a game or training?
Big pasta.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Okay. And favourite place you've travelled to playing cricket?
I would say it's probably the best and worst, but India.
Okay.
Just great experience.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for that. That's it with the rapid fire questions. So now
awesome.
Try and dive a little bit deeper into some things because we're really interested to know about your cricketing journey and also your Scotch life and what it's been like transitioning from Scotch into professional environments. So my first question is there anything that you learnt from your time playing cricket at Scotch which has stuck with you throughout your career so far?
Yeah, I think there's a fair bit. We were just talking off air before about that really, really cool era of Scotch cricket. And we were my year was sort of the first year that sort of cricket at Scotch sort of came back on the map. And, we had a coach called Mike Hirsch, who I'm sure the name
Hershey, yeah.
follows the hallways of Scotch. But I think he was probably the first one for me anyway that sort of taught us what hard work is all about. He was incredibly caring, thoughtful. Didn't matter whether you were, in the 8 Cs or the first 11. He would give you every bit of time of day. So I think hard work was probably back in year 12 when I first started to realise, if I wanted to be, probably at that stage, just wanted to get the best out of myself from a career perspective. But then obviously the years to come professionally. But yeah, hard work was probably the one thing that stuck with me from my time at Scotch.
Yeah, right. So you played like a lot of cricket, but who's your hero growing up? Who did you idolise? And did you get to play with them or meet them?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I get asked this question a lot, the first part, about my hero growing up. And I think for me, there wasn't one person who I just idolised. You speak to a lot of the guys and they'll tell you, I had his name or a poster up on my wall as a kid or whatever. But I think for me, growing up, I was still trying to figure out, what type of cricketer I wanted to be. So, one day I'd be Brett Lee, the other day Glenn McGrath, Shane Warne, whatever it was. I had so many guys who I probably loved little bits of everyone. So that's probably from a bowling perspective, those guys, and then batting wise, I think Adam Gilchrist, all the WA, all the other WA guys, Adam Gilchrist, Justin Langer, Mike Hussey, love the way that they went about their cricket. And as a lefty as well, all of those guys are lefties as well. So I was just picking up every little thing from them. And in terms of meeting them, obviously had JL as a coach at WA for a number of years. Just an amazing person, amazing coach. And when he took over at WA, it was exactly what we needed. He's a bit of a hard tasker, which I'm sure you guys have heard about. But he's an incredible person. I think my first away trip for WA, I roomed with Mitchell Johnson. That was awesome. So I've been super lucky to have played with and experienced these guys. and how they go about their cricket, but also just how they go about their life as well. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds awesome. Just for me, what's one lesson or value that you've learned at Scotch which you still use in your everyday life today?
Yeah, well, I actually I listened to the first ep that you guys did, and Val, I know you spoke about being approachable is a big thing for you. And I listened to Matt Kelly come and speak to the middle school a few weeks ago, and he spoke about your mates being so important. Your family is there through thick and thin, but the reality is once you leave school, you go off and travel, whatever it is. You might come home at 5:30 and have dinner at the dinner table, and then you go off and do something else. Your mates are what who are with you for the majority of your life after school. So mateship is a big one. At WA we've got 3 values that we live by, but I think mateship for me and the success that I've been a part of, caring for your mates is probably the biggest value. And I think again, I learned a lot of these things from my time at Scotch.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are in the same boat with that too.
Yeah.
Mates, straight away, it's the first thing that comes to mind whenever you think about school. It's not your subjects or anything, it's your mates.
And it's something you always talk about as well, Val. Like what defines a Scotch boy is how good mates we all are, like year 9 to 12. So I think, that's really is true. Really is awesome.
And on that, I think one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, what's the secret ingredient to the success that WA have had over the last 8-9 years? And the short answer is there's no secret recipe, but we're such a tight group, and I think we do so much travel and we're on the road so much together that there's groups who don't work when they spend too much time together. They get in each other's space and whatever, but we thrive on that so much. And I think, the togetherness, the closeness, the community. I know you guys have spoken about that on the potty before.
Yeah.
But it's the same, like your mates and your core group of people, really the main thing or the big reasons of why you and whatever part or whatever group you're part of has success.
Definitely.
I got one.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest, like the funniest thing that's ever happened to you or on the field, on a cricket field?
Oh, jeez.
Here we go.
We're PG here.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. I think there's been so many different experiences, good, bad, all of the above. I think one of the ones that comes to mind, or the one that as a group that we speak about a fair bit, is in 2013 the Scorchers had a trip to India. They don't do it anymore, but it used to be called the Champions League.
Yeah.
And it was basically the Champions League was the top 2 T20 sides from every country would meet in India, and they'd play basically a T20 tournament. It would basically just be to see who was the best T20 side. And we took a really young group. There was no Sean Marsh, there was no Mitch Marsh, and at that stage, if you'd played IPL and your IPL team was in the Champions League, you'd have to play for that team. So Nathan Coulter-Nile, he was part of the Mumbai team. So I think we had 7 guys who debuted for the Scorchers in a first Champions League game. And at that stage, I think the best thing for us was naivety. Like we didn't know what all this was. We're playing in front of 50,000 people at Eden Gardens. And I opened the bowling in my first game, and I got 2 wickets in my first 2 balls.
Oh, how good.
Nice.
Bad stuff.
Brendan McCullum
Baz.
and Hamish Rutherford, I think, was the other one.
Wow.
And I was thinking,
Yeah.
like, how good is this?
It is.
I'm on,
Yeah.
amazing. I'm on. I got 2 wickets. Anyway, I took 2 for 9 off my first 2 overs.
Mm.
And, like a youngster, you're thinking,
Yeah.
this is how good's this? Anyway, so 2 for 11 after first 2 overs, and then I went 2 for 50 after 4. So, and I just got smacked everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like, no matter where I put the ball, like, it was just going to the ropes. And I think that was the first time for me, that you get a real experience of, like, probably humility, but also just how hard the game is at times. And if you don't stay level headed, it'll come back to bite you. So I think that's probably a bit of a not a weird one, but an extraordinary one. I've got so many off the top of my head. Later in the potty, I might remember. I'll come back to them.
Can I just butt in with one thing? Like, you mentioned the mental strength and the mental side of cricket.
Yeah.
I find with me playing sport as well, I find the mental side is almost just as important as the actual physical side of, being mentally prepped for a game. Is there any ways you go about your preparation or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a good question, Val. I think what's been really cool, I think, for me, and I don't get a lot of time to reflect. It's probably over the off season that you kind of sit back and you review how the season went and whether you achieved the things that you wanted to achieve as a team, but individually as well. And I think for me, when I first started playing professional cricket, it's been the one cool thing has been the evolution of all parts of my game. So physically, my training, how does that look? Well, how is it different now to what it was 10, 15 years ago? Mentally, what am I doing to be mentally fresh before a game? And then probably as I've got older and the muscles and bones don't work as well as what they did once upon a time, is your recovery and your prep for games.
Yep.
And that's probably the biggest thing for me. And the one thing that I sink my teeth into a fair bit now is what am I doing to prepare for games and how I recover? Because the reality is in first class cricket, you play for 4 days, and then you either got to get on the flight to prepare for another game within 4 or 5 days. So you've just got to keep going. But I think mentally, a lot of the things that you learn mentally are from mistakes that you make, and I'm sure you boys have. We've all made mistakes, whether that's sporting or life or whatever, but you do learn the most out of making mistakes. So, I'd certainly, for everyone, would encourage you to, don't be afraid to fail and push the boundaries, because you'll learn as much from those as you do from success. Yeah.
I think just touching on like something you said before about keeping like a level head, like a blue head, I think that's so important, like especially when things go wrong. I think like for the people listening as well, when things do go wrong, like what's the process? How do you like stay calm and make sure you can continue going?
Yeah, for sure. And you can practice that, like there's so much mental skills practice now that you can do. And I think, that's probably one thing that I've had to work on a lot is how do I stay calm and relaxed through a heightened or a emotional situation, because there's times on the cricket field whether you're G'd up and you've just taken a wicket at a crucial time, or the opposite, whether you're getting hit for sixes and you've got to try and, between bowling the ball and delivering your next ball, you've got to try and bring your heart rate back down, think clearly, and be ready to just execute that next ball. And that can be the same applied to any situation in life, whether it's a test, for example, or an exam. Like you've just nailed the first half of the exam, and you're all up and about, but then heart rate's too high. Second half of the exam, you're not thinking clearly, and you can cook yourself. We've all done it. It all happens. So, but these are the things that you learn as time goes on, and as I said, the more you can practice them, and sometimes making mistakes is the best way to learn and prepare yourself for that next situation.
Yeah, definitely. Back to the script. If you were a cricketer,
yeah,
what do you think you'd do?
It's a good question. I'm studying a teaching degree at the moment. Funnily
great.
Yeah.
Come back to Scotch.
Gailey and Jani, they were all here when I was here, which makes them, about 70 years old or something. I'll sneak that in. They'll hate me saying that. But yeah, Jani and Birdie and Gailey and Kazzy Gabriels, they're all...
Tony Doney?
Yeah, Tony Doney. God, he off topic, but he ran some mad cross-country sessions back in the day. He's probably even madder now. But... studying teaching, those lads always try and get me back in to do my pracs, which I'm hoping I'll be able to do at some stage. So I'd say teaching.
Yeah.
Health and PE, obviously it's been a big part of my life. And so, whereabouts I do that. I'm pretty keen on the Margaret River area. We've got a fair bit of family down there. So that for me is probably where I'll end up. So
a
maybe,
beautiful part of the world as well.
oh mate, it's amazing. It's the best.
Yeah.
You know, so lucky to be living in WA where we are, and for Margaret River to be, you know, in amongst beautiful trees and greenery, and then you drive 5 minutes and you're pristine beach. So it's it's my favourite part of the world. So starting a teaching degree, not sure exactly if that's what I'll do straight away, but
Yeah.
I certainly enjoy it. I think the similarities between teaching and coaching are pretty similar, and as a a bit of a senior figure in the group, you kind of do a fair bit of mentoring now, and that part of cricket for me, or life in general, helping others to achieve what they want to achieve and care for people, is a big part of who I am and my core values.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, great. I'm really interested to know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
If you could give your year 10, year 11 self some advice for all this success, what would you say to yourself?
Listen to my teachers more.
Yeah.
No, it's a tough question. As we all know, hindsight is such a beautiful thing, and there's so many times where I just gone, if I'd just done this, or I'd just done that, or thought about this a different way, I would have done this or would have done that. But I think, year 10 and year 11, that's probably when I started to really sort of move right into cricket and could see cricket being a thing. But, I'd admit the school now offers so many different opportunities. I know that you guys have spoken about that, but it was the same back when I was at school, and I just wish I'd done more when I was here. I wish I'd done pipe band. I wish I'd done a little bit more drama. Academically, I'd wish I'd just tried a few different things, not because that necessarily was of interest to me, but I think as I've got older, you pull experience from different things, and I think Scotch being such a great school and offering so many different opportunities, I wish I'd just done a few different more things. Yeah. That's probably what I would have said to myself back then, is just do a bit more, try a few different more things.
Yeah, awesome.
So, Joel, obviously we're all leaders at Scotch and we're in a bit of a microcosm of that. But, Joel, do you have any experience of leadership in your professional career?
Yeah, I think, I've been involved at WA Cricket now for, I think this is my 15th pre-season that I'm going into. So it's a fair while. And I think, when I first started, leadership for me personally was probably not I wouldn't say a really strong point. Like I was never captain of junior sporting teams. I was never a prefect at Scotch. I think my maturity level at school was quite low compared to the other guys. But I think it's just been a good thing for me to see, and my advice to other people is, like, you can learn leadership. Like, there's some obviously principles of leadership that are natural, but there's certainly some others that can be taught and can be learnt. And we've got a bit of a leadership program now at WA Cricket. There's probably 5 or 6 guys who are in that we sit down with a leadership mentor probably once a month, and when we speak about leadership principles and what they mean to you, but in other sort of environments and examples, and then we speak about the team and how we can improve the team. And I think the biggest thing about leadership, or the best area, is just leading by example. I think when I first started playing, you'd gravitate to the guys that, well, you're always looking around to see what other people are doing, and the guys who are, really specific with their training, they're doing all the right things, and it can be such little things like, picking up cones after a training session, or leaving the gym tidy, or how you speak to other people. That's a big one, is, making sure that if you're a senior player, you're speaking to the coach and the captain the exact same as you'd speak to a first-year player, because you want to build that trust with those players, that they can come to you for advice, or when you step out in the field, that they know that you've got their back. So there's a whole lot of different leadership principles, and we can delve in so deep. But I think leading by example is a big thing. And as I said before, just the ability to care for your mates, care for your teammates, care for other people. It's not hard to do that. It doesn't take a lot of energy, but it's something that can go a long way. Is just the care that you have for other people, I'd say.
Yeah, I really like that point of leadership's not necessarily in the really big moments, but it's also defined in the little ones as well. I guess that's something that we've tried to focus on a little bit, that it's not just the big things at school, it's also the little messages and stuff like that. So I think that's such a great point.
Yeah. How do you guys go about, so if there's messages or things that you want to get across to the rest of the school, how do you go about communicating that with, say, your fellow Year 12 students compared to your 8s, 9s and 10s who may be on a little bit of a different level?
It's a good question, but like I also think it comes down to like I was saying before, sort of the closeness. Like if we didn't know the Year 8s or the Year 9 students very well, maybe that would be a bit of a bigger task compared to, what it actually is, because we have really good relationships with all those boys. Like I'm really big and these boys are really big on like the idea of knowing the boy. Yeah. And with that comes like, getting around to all of them. So in terms of when there's things that we need to say or stuff, it's actually quite an easy process of just, email at assembly. And because you show the respect to them, they so easily show it back by following whatever you have to say. So,
and with the houses, like in your houses, the house is actually pretty, like you're pretty close with everyone in your house. Like, I know everyone's name in my house, in Key's house anyway. So you know everyone. So if you go and speak to like all your Year 12s at like the house captains, we have a meeting every, Monday lunchtime.
Mm-hmm.
We have something we need to get across to everyone in the school. You go, house captains, we need to get this across. And then you have a house meeting every Thursday morning and everyone's there, everyone's listening.
The first name thing is really interesting.
Yeah.
I think, the ability to be able to see someone walking down the corridors and going, g'day Seb, how you going? How did sport go on the weekend, mate? Like, you win, lose, whatever. You leave that little communication going, he knows my name. Like, how good's that? Instead of saying, hey mate, and just keep walking. Being really personable is such a big thing.
With the older boy doing it too.
Yeah, exactly.
It actually fills you up.
Yeah. Now that you're in the shoes of the older boy, it doesn't feel like such a big thing. But when you think back to if you're in Year 9 and they come up to you like, you are a bit stunned.
And there was like Year 12 that knew your name. And you're like, holy.
It feels awesome.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think another thing which is really important for us is actually doing what we say. Yeah. I think just by us doing those actions, the younger boys pick up on it.
Yeah.
So like even if you just see a leader go pick up a bit of rubbish on the chapel lawn, younger boys around you will see that and they'll be like, oh, he's doing that. He's a leader. People get around him. They will go and do that. So I think leading by example and not just saying, but actually doing, I think that's really important.
Well, stole my thunder there. That was going to be my next point. I don't know if the coach is going to allow me saying this, but we'll edit it out if it's not. But we have a set of values and a trademark that we sort of came up with a few years ago because, I'm sure it's the same with Scotch. You want everyone to be able to understand what you're about or what you're trying to achieve. And so we came up with a trademark that says, with our family for the West, we succeed. And so breaking it down into three little bits with our family, it's our immediate family, so who are we doing it for? We're doing it for our own families, but also the WACA family. So you talk about the Scotch community, in comparison, that would be the Scotch family, so the family is a big thing for the West. So every time you put on a training shirt or you don't have a training shirt, you're representing WA. So how you go about your work inside the WACA walls is obviously super important, but also how you interact with the rest of the community. As you know, people judge you all the time, and so you're always on watch. And so how you represent, for me or the team, how we represent WA is super important. And if we do those little things, at some stage we're going to have the success. So that's where that trademark comes. With our family for the West, we succeed. And then under that, we have 3 values. We have committed, humility, and trust. And committed is basically for us, it's training to our elite standards. Humility is about being, as you said, about being present and approachable at all times, always looking to learn and enjoying your teammates' success. And then the trust is just doing what you say you're going to do. And that was your point before. And so if you do that for long enough, and, as we know, actions speak way louder than words. And it's really important, whether you're a leader or when you are a leader, that you do what you say you're going to do. And so for us and a group, and for our younger guys, if they have something to come back to, if they're not sure, in a training session, what they should be doing in a game, we've got these values for them to come back to. And that's kind of their point of focus and can get them back on the right track. But we've had these values now for 7 or 8 years, and they're something that I've held really close to me at cricket, but also in life. And, that they have been a really big part of why we've been successful. And so, it's sometimes they evolve a little bit, and they might mean something different to different people. But at the core, we try and keep them simple, but we make sure everyone knows what they are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Joel, thank you so much for coming in. Like, I've loved this last 40 minutes or so of being able to chat to you and hear about your experiences and what you think about leadership. Like, all of us boys, we're so grateful that you gave up your time to come in. So thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Yes.
No, so I was super pumped to get into the studio, lads, and good luck with the second half of your last semester of school.
Well, value said at assembly last week.
12 more weeks.
12
12 weeks left.
That it.
Yep.
Make it count.
Is
Make
that?
it count, because that is it. Once you're done, you're done.
It is.
Exactly.
All right, great. Thanks so much, guys.
you.
Awesome.
Great work.
Cheers.